Morning, morning, morning. Happy Thursday. Hope you're having a good one. I know I am. I got my cup of Joe, got a nice run in this morning. I'm ready to go. So, this is part 3 of a vibe coding series that I'm putting together to kind of show you how I built this mobile application to, oddly enough, just over 10K in revenue for commercial fishermen in Bristol Bay, Alaska. And so what I'm doing in this series is I'm bringing people through an add-on to this, which is going to be mobile applications for other fishermen in Alaska, for other fisheries. So if you're not familiar with what I'm doing, I'll go ahead and link below parts 1 and 2, and you can check those out to kind of get a better overview of what we're doing. So let's go ahead and walk through what we accomplished last time. Wow, I'm not even ready to go here. I need to log back in. So let me do that. All right, we're rolling here. So what did we accomplish last time? So this is all new. And one of the things I want to kind of emphasize here is that the app that we're going to be building, I'm not going to build out like the entire thing. And so the reason is because it's not going to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish in this series, which is I just want to show you how to, from start to finish, properly vibe code an application. And unfortunately, you can't just like go to a Lovable or a Replit or something like this in order to probably do that as soon as you kind of enter some degree of complexity or interesting, some sort of interesting application. And so for us, what we're going to be building is really based off the database schema that we built in part 2. And here's what that looks like for us. Crazy simple, right? Like we've got 2 tables here, and so there's not too much going on. And so again, what we're trying to essentially replicate in Southeast is this right here. Salmon harvest by area. Whatever, it's gonna load. So what we did is we haven't created the scraper yet, but that's all right. We built the database schema. Again, do we know SQL? Well, I mean, I do, but do you need to know it? No. But can we point an LLM to help us create a schema based on what we're trying to accomplish? Absolutely. So we threw that to Supabase. Supabase has our table. Now we've kind of got we've already pre-populated this with kind of some test data. And now what we're gonna do is build out the mobile app so that way we can see it. And then part 4 will basically do the scraping. And that's that, right? Pretty simple. Just kind of putting all the pieces of the puzzle. So let's get cracking. And again, I really want to show you as much as I can here. And so we're going to start fresh with vibe coding. What doesn't change, the software development process kind of doesn't change. It's just that like we don't actually have to like do the things. We just have an LLM do it for us. So 2 parts. Number 1, let's go ahead and get yourself a GitHub if you don't have one. This is like the whole world runs on GitHub at this point. So let's just call this Southeast Mobile. Mobile application for Southeast fishermen. Yeah, I'll leave it public for now. Leave it public. Why not? Why not? Cool. So now this GitHub's just giving me instructions. So let's not overcomplicate it. Whoops, don't want to do that. Let me I'm actually working on a client project right now, and I actually was one day into it, or like half a day into it. Like I restarted it just so that way I could like figure out a better way to help people learn how to actually vibe code and do it in a way that like I was trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who's never done anything too technical. And so I'm going to try and repeat what I did. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to create a new, we're going to be using cursor, by the way. It's super important. we don't want to clone a repo. We want to actually work in a repo. So let's go to Bearbyte. It's my software development agency. Is Bearbyte Apps. I need to update my site. It's kind of old and doesn't have all my recent projects. So let's just call this Southeast. Cool. We'll open this up. And then what we'll do is we'll grab this guy. We'll go ahead and grab this guy. And we'll go ahead and I got to be careful because I know I'm probably going to have my face in the way here as we do this. So maybe I'll just get rid of my face at times. I don't know. Let's open up a terminal. And we're just going to paste that in. Let it run. Okay, cool. Done. All right, so what did we just do? So this is going to be where we build our mobile application. And what we have going on is essentially just the... All right, so this is where we're going to be building our mobile application. And what we've done is just created a repository with GitHub. And what this allows us to do is just kind of control versioning. So that way, as we're building, we're going to kind of, as we go along, things are going to be working, things are going to be good. And then if for whatever reason we blow something up, no harm, no foul. We always have the option to revert, to go back. And so this is something that's super, super important and doesn't take much work, but it's something you need to have. So with that, let's keep going. Now this mobile application, we're going to be using React Native with Expo. There's a couple reasons. We can build cross-platform. It's probably one of the heaviest documented cross-platform frameworks available. And just from my experience so far building stuff already, it's just been it's really easy to use, and you can test on Android and iOS through the Expo Go app like right away. It depends on what you're building, but for the most part you can just do that. And so you literally hold your phone up to the screen, it's got a QR code, and boom, you're running your app live in your phone immediately. So it's a great option. So let's kick it off. So let's go ahead and populate what React Native with Expo will do for you. Is it'll kind of create this like basic template for you to go ahead and just like get everything built and running. So that way we can actually like start writing our code. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have this thing actually populate the sort of foundation, if you will, for us for this React Native Expo app. And so I already have a prompt for us, and it says, you are my mobile developer working in my Southeast mobile application. Currently, this is already connected to Git. What we're going to do is start this off by getting the React Native with Expo template. When we build the app, then we'll build the app. From here, please me ask any questions you have before starting on this. Do not start until you know what I'm looking to have. It should include the tab structure layout. Let's see what we get here. All right. Let's answer some questions. All right, so for the tab structure layout, Expo offers a template that includes a tab-based navigation setup using React navigation. It's a great starting point. Is this a template you'd like to use? Yes, that is what we want. Basically, it just creates like a really clean way, like on your app. So basically what that was asking is, it's basically going to provide a structure where like basically there's literally a folder that's going to be called run. and then like we'll have code within there. We're not gonna do anything, but like that's just like the layout, very clean and organized. All right, should we use TypeScript or standard? Oh no, TypeScript. Are there any libraries? Okay, and by the way, the reason we're going to be using TypeScript is because with Supabase, we're going to be generating a file which is going to be TypeScript, and then our project is going to use that. So we want to use TypeScript. Are there any specific libraries you'd like to include from the start, such as state management like a Redux or Zustand? We'll implement these later. Four, I'll set up the project in the current setting manager. Is that correct? Correct. All right. Run it. Beautiful. So check this out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys. We have an app. You might not think it, but we do have an app. Not very exciting. All right. Not very exciting, but it does exist. So the way we run this, it's still creating, so I'll run it once it's done, but we just go npx expo start. Yeah. I'm going to let everything go. And oh, I'm running that server on another project right now. So let me kill that. All right. So check this out. Give us this little QR code. And actually, I already have my Expo Go app on iOS, but you can see it like just popped up there. So I'm gonna click on it. And here's the app loading. And you can see our tab layout, so I can click different tabs. Obviously not very exciting right now, right? But we have an app. And let's see. So now it's time to cook. Unfortunately, here's what we're not going to do right now. We're not going to hop into this thing and start describing it, our database, and saying what kind of UI we want, and how it should display data on the screen. We're not going to do any of that. What we're going to do instead is we're going to provide that information up front, so that way we don't want to always have to re-explain ourselves, right? Like, here is what our styling should look like always, right? If you tell someone, hey, this is how we style cards, right? And you see cards are a very often a really common UI approach. Oops, this is not what I wanted to do. You don't want to have to keep re-explaining yourself and keep saying like, no, these are the colors we're using. So there's a way for us to handle that in Cursor. So we're going to create a folder, and it's called .cursor. And within Cursor, we're going to have another folder called rules. Just like this. And then we're also going to create one called reference. So rules, this folder and this structure here, and within this Southeast Mobile folder, Cursor is automatically going to look under .cursor rules folder, and whatever we have in there, it will go ahead and ingest it and use it for context. And so there's a couple really crucial pieces of context that we should always be providing our LLM to give us the best results, and more importantly, consistent results, right? Because we might within Cursor be going back and forth between different LLMs depending on what we're doing, and some LLMs are just going to be doing things differently, and we just don't want that. We want consistent behavior and consistent approaches within our code base. And so let's go ahead and build that. And so we have a couple different ones that I am particularly concerned about. So the first one is going to be, I'm actually looking at my other project to make sure I don't miss anything here, because I actually just did this the other day and I'm kind of blown away by it all. So we're just going to kind of rinse and repeat. So we're going to have our UI guidelines. We're going to have our PRD. And this is just like context of like, what's our project? We're going to have our technical stack. Whoop. We're going to have our database schema MD. This one is actually a rule that we're going to create. It's called clarify. And then we're also going to have an index. And this index.md is just a way for essentially the LLM to quickly find which MD it should be looking at when it's trying to contemplate a particular issue or problem. So let's say it's, it's working on the UI of some piece, right? And rather than having to go through each single markdown file, it's just going to go, it can look at the index, and then the index can say, hey, oh, you're talking about guideline, or you're talking about UI. Oh, you want to go to the UI guidelines markdown. So it just makes things a little bit more efficient. So that's the purpose there. All right, so let's create these. You already know where we're headed. ChatGPT. All right, so we're gonna have to give this thing quite a bit of context. So I'm not gonna like speak through it as I say it all, but you know what I'm gonna do? Let's see if I can just use this and speak. I'm currently creating a mobile app with React Native with Expo. My IDE is Cursor, and what I would like to do is start creating my markdown files to best help my developers know some of the standards. And so the first markdown file that I would like to create is my product requirements development file. And can you help me provide my mobile developer the most amount of context that they need, so they always can, something that they can look back on to understand the greater context of the project? Please ask me all the questions that you have in order to create this PRD. And then once you feel confident enough that I've answered enough questions, you can create the PRD, the markdown file for me. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. All right, it's going to transcribe it for us. Boom. Let her cook. Development product requirement document. That's embarrassing. All right, so start answering them. What is the name of the app? Southeast mobile. 1 to 2 sentences. This app provides fishermen in Southeast Alaska what the current stats of the run are. What is the primary problem this app solves? This app is able to provide fishermen real-time information that the Alaska Department of Fish and Game provides, but in a user-friendly way on mobile. Essentially, you'll be grabbing data from an already set up DB in which such data can be displayed intuitively. I don't know how to spell that word. Intuitively and easily. Well, that's kind of the same thing. Intuitively and beautifully. All right. One of the things I've also noticed, like my typing and my spellings, I feel like it's gotten worse with LLMs because it's like if I spell something incorrectly, it knows it knows that this is information. It knows that it knows these words. So whatever. All right, target users: commercial fishermen working in southeast, fishing in the southeast region of Alaska. What are the top 3 points what are the top 3 pain points they face that this app helps with? Access. So let's do access to data quickly. Help see data easily. NA. Core features. There is no auth in this project, as this is a read-only app. Are there any non-core nice-to-have features you'd like to include if time permits? Not at the moment. Are there any features or interactions that are intentionally excluded for V1? Auth is excluded. User flow. What is a typical journey from opening the app to completing the first task? Yep. So really this app only provides info and there's not really any interaction other than reading. No, and five. Do you already have wireframes, mockups, or Figma files? Are there not? No. Are there any UX design systems or libraries you're using? Yeah. So this is really important. So and this is where I can help out. So what we're going to be doing, not sure if this is applicable here or in the other markdown files, but so clear in. So what I want to do is actually tell it the markdown files that we're going to be doing. So to be clear, in total, we'll be creating three markdown files, which are prd.md, ui-guidelines.md, and the tech stack. Not sure if this is applicable here or in other markdown files, but we'll be using native. Glue stack. We'll be using GlueStack v2 with native wind v4. If you're not familiar with like what these UI, what I just said there, so GlueStack is just like this is just like a components library, like already pre-built, nice looking UI. So like, with any software, like there's just gonna like be like fundamentally all the same things, right? Like you might have like a drop down menu, you're going to have certain buttons, and so these are just things that come out of the box, easy to use, and if we want to do any additional styling, one of the things that we can use is something called native wind. And so that's how we're going to be handling all of our UI. Are there any accessibility requirements or mobile URL? Yes, definitely. So one of the things that we want to be able to do, we will want to be able to allow users who through say their, you know, in a clean way. Yep. Honestly, because I didn't give it enough, you know, one of the issues, again, garbage in, garbage out with LLMs. And so I kind of provided a garbage prompt. I should have told it, hey, we're going to be creating like 3 different markdown files, you know, so that way it would have probably helped me ask questions that were more pertinent to the product requirements document. Right now it's kind of asking me some more like some of the tech stack stuff, but that's all right. So this is a React Native. So I want to clear that out. To be clear, you've asked me some questions that probably will get separated and included in those 3 and not just in this prd. So this React Native with Expo app will be for both iOS and Android. Yep. So what we're actually going to be doing we'll be using Zestand with React query and context where appropriate. Absolutely, this app needs to be able to show previously query data when the app is offline. Okay, 8. Whoa. Whoa, I messed up my question here. So this is, okay, yep. Those answers were for 7. And then are you 6? Any backend services already set up? Yep. So we already have Supabase set up, and this will always handle all backend functionality. We need like edge functions, DB, etc. Any third party? Yeah. We'll be using revenue cap. For payment walls and such. Cool. Do you already have a schema? Already have the database schema done. Let's see. Are there any performance requirements? So yeah, with this app, I mean, look, this is about as basic as it gets, right? I mean, this isn't even a CRUD app. It's a app, right? Read. So Don't need to worry about it. I'm just gonna say don't worry about this crap. 9. What's your release date? Irrelevant. 10. What are the biggest unknowns or challenges in this build? Are there any assumptions that need to be validated? No. Once you respond to these, I'll do cursor reference. Whoa. Actually gonna live inside. That's interesting. I noticed you say the reference folder, but I thought cursor only ingested MD files from the .cursor rules folder. I might have had this wrong. Questions to finish the PRD, then we'll also finish the tech stack and UI guidelines files. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought my assumption. Yeah, so this question that I had about the reference and rules folder, this is great. So basically, as you're, I think this is up to you. The rules folder is going to automatically ingest these documents. So what are the pros and cons to this? Well, obviously, if you had like a ton of information within your rules folder and it was massive, and you set that you want it to always go through those, that's a lot of tokens you're gonna have to use. Whatever you prompt the AI, like the LLM within Cursor, it's also going to tack on those rules files, those markdowns, and so then you're gonna have you're just gonna be using more tokens, and so potentially that could get expensive. In our case, these are so small, I don't care. It's not that many tokens, so I'm not even gonna think about it. Final PRD questions. I just want to make sure it's on the right track. These are short and necessary to tighten up the PRD section only. I don't care about that. Once I have those, I'll generate. After that, we'll tackle the tech stack, and then beautiful. So it's on the right track. So app sections. All right. What are the specific sections or screens of the app? For example, home screen, district view, species breakdown, charts or graphs. If unsure, list what you have now for V1. So all we're going to be doing is really listing salmon harvest by fishery area. So 1, the only concerned tab we have for now is listing, what was it again? Good gosh. Estimated salmon. So may include to what are the specific data types you'll show in the app? Here's what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're actually going to just give it the right context. So we're going to do this. I wasn't planning on doing this, but let's kick it off now. So what we can actually do is we have that database in Supabase. And I'm going to show you right now how to grab your current schema in your database. All right, so here's what it is. If you don't have the Supabase command line installed, you'll need to do that, but it's just a Supabase. Oh, I need to link this project first because I've been working on a different project. So let me do that. Obviously, normally I would never be working on like this one screen like this. It's kind of annoying, but for showing you guys, it makes probably more sense. So I just grabbed the reference, so we'll do that. It's asking me for the password. All right, cool. So then what we can do, we do Supabase db dump file or schema public, and we'll say file. We're gonna put this cursor reference database. We'll just do db schema because I don't want to type database every time. Schema.sql. Perfect. Here it is. So that's our database schema. All 100, well, yeah. And now we can go back to GBT. Here is what you're working with. All right. 3. Data freshness. How often will the app get updated from the database? Every hour, daily, pulled on refresh. So this is an awesome question in our case because it's an interesting scenario where ADF&G is only going to update the latest information, like potentially, let's just say it's every hour, right? So let's say it's 12:30. Do we want to show the user when they pull? Let's say the last time they looked at the app was at 11:30. ADF&G posts new data at 12. So then we scrape it. It's in our database now, and then they scrape their app. Do we want it to say like updated at 12:30 when they pull it down to refresh? Or do we want it to say latest update was at 12 o'clock, like when we post the data? I'm going to go with the latter there, with what I just proposed, because this was a point of confusion that people in Bristol Bay were asking for. Like, so is this update actually at, 4:22? Or when was this data last posted? Like what's the most recently posted data? And that's what I want to show. So I want to make that clear. So the way should work is that in our database should be able to handle. So the way that this should work is that another service updated. So when the fishermen pull down to refresh, they pull down to refresh, but rather they refresh from ADF and G. Does that make sense, or do you need more clarification? Also, we should make sure, like, I think dude, what happened to my Supabase? What's going on here? Oh, it's right here. So it seems to me we're not ready to handle that in the database. So my database may not be able to handle that type of functionality. Please provide an SQL script I can run to make that I can run in Supabase SQL editor to make that modification. Seems like adding that column, that field rather, that field in the, probably just in the fisheries one, in the fisheries table makes the most sense. Why am I saying that? Because landings is associated with a given fishery, and there's no reason, like, when we scrape this data, it's going to always have the most updated information for that fishery, so you might as well just keep it at the top level. There's no reason to, like, repeat that data over and over and over again for each row in landings. That's ridiculous. All right. Data freshness. Okay, cool. 4. There isn't, but that may be a feature I would like to implement later. All right, I was a little chilly, so here I am. All right. So it's done after we kind of provided it some more context, and you want to, perfect. This is information that the scraper, when it goes to scrape the website and posts new data to the database, is going to want to know, but so perfect. I'm going to grab that. If you haven't done something like this before, I'll show you. Beautiful. And what you're going to see now is this little timestamp. Cool. Like that. Now, oh wait. Now what we're going to do probably going to want to modify this a little bit, but it seems to kind of hit it pretty well. Let's go to prd. That brings them to step 3. Perfect. This really, yeah, this is great. Sorry, like, I'm actually going to be selling this app, so I actually want to make sure I'm building things right here. Cool. Beautiful. So it has it. Tech stack next. Let's go. All right. Let's move to tech-stack.md. Here is what I have so far. For the backend, all things are through Supabase. For the React native with Expo, we've already spoken about the UI pieces plus state management. All right, I'm starting answering questions. Do you want to use TypeScript? Yep. Are you using any libraries for navigation? We're using file-based routing. Are you using Expo router or traditional stack navigation? So maybe you don't know the answer to this question, right? So let's ask it. Yeah. Any animation libraries? No. Are you using Supabase client directly? So what's this question? Depending on what you're doing with mobile and or really any client-side application, the question is like, do you take a user and when they make a request, send that request to an endpoint that you have set up? That endpoint takes that request. It says, then it takes that, it goes to the database, grabs whatever information it does. Maybe it does something with the data interesting and then spits it back to the user. We're actually going to have the user basically able to just go grab data from the database and come right back, because most of this stuff isn't going to get manipulated, and if it does, we can actually do it. There's a way we can handle it, but we don't really need to do any processing of this data or any sort of really anything interesting with it. So do you store any local data with SQLite? Please add more context. And again, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who's not technical. With revenue, cat, SDK, are you using explicit? You know, I don't know. So what this is asking is like, are we going to build things locally, or like when we want to actually do certain tests, are we going to have another service do that for us? Expo provides something called EAS, and EAS is going to allow us to not use our machine and just like build final Android production apps and iOS apps on their machines. I use Git. Are you, yes. Wait, let me know if you need me to clarify before. Yep, 6. So recommend cache time, set time, but if you want persistent between app restart, you typically use app, then opens it and refreshes while they're offline. It doesn't blow out the existing data and then show no data because they're offline. Perfect. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to our tech stack, boom, 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 and it also said I need to modify. It says revise offline support section. Yep, offline support. So let's go find that. Boom. All right. Awesome. Let's begin on UI guidelines. I'm going to actually steal this from, all right, have a previous UI well, I would like to work from this. For us, we need to primarily focus on changing the color system, as you'll, see. This is something I can post down below, or hit me up if you want it. You're gonna see it. Was also created for an iPad app, so maybe we need to consider changes to accommodate for smaller mobile phones and make sure we can handle accessibility challenges. Let's see what we get. Great, starting point. All right. let's copy this because this in cursor will actually show you what those colors look like. Whoops. Let's see what it gave us. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so these are the colors that it generated for us, and I like it. So air, that's a nice, like, it's not like a harsh red. Warning. Oh, you got some nice blues. Let's go. Again, if we want to change these later, not a problem. Beautiful. All right. So here's the next step. We need to actually work on the base of this. So the next step is that, a lot of the times you'll see me prompting the LLM like, hey, please ask me any questions that you have so that you have all the information needed in order to execute what I've asked you to do. I don't want to type that all the time. Super annoying. So let's go right here. This is my favorite one. This is called clarify.md. For now, just for this app, perfect. I have one previously. An index file. True. Also, I'm going to rerun this database schema because it did change, because we did add that column. Cool. All right. So step that I would like to take is the following. So next up, I would like you to read and see what and also configure please provide your phase-in plan to do this. All right. So now now that we've this was kind of like the initial base of the project, and you can use git branch to see what branch you're in. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and commit everything we like it. Setup. But now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new branch called Tech Foundation. And then we also need to create this branch out in the remote repository. All right, so now here's what's happened. Is now what we're doing is we're working with the same code base. But let's say we go ahead and we start building a bunch of stuff, blah, 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 and it just falls apart, blows up. No worries. We can always go back to that main branch, grab that, create a new branch to work from again, and kind of reset ourselves. So back to this prompt. Then once you have the phrase implemented, then I'll make any edits before continuing. So one thing I want to make sure of is this is GlueStack v2 and native wind 4, correct? Statement. Yes. Perfect for offline support, backend client to connect to. Yep. Payments. You know, so what I'm gonna actually do is I'm gonna open, because I've built this before and I don't remember what we did actually. Let's go to dashboard. And let's see, actually. I'm going to do it over here on a different screen because I don't want to. Did I just blow that out? What did I just do? Sorry, I'm bouncing you guys all over the place. File, I accidentally new window. Good gosh, I accidentally closed out that other one. Sorry. Bring it back. React Native purchases. I'm gonna look at my other one. Correct. Yep. So perfect, correct. Build tooling, yes, as a dev dependency for interacting with Expo. I already have this installed. Two, configuration and integration. After installation, I'll configure the libraries, configure native wind, create the native wind. File, configure the content, that's all stuff. Two. Babel.config, perfect. Yep. Two. Whoops. Phase one. Phase two. 1, 2. Integrate GlueStack UI. I will modify. Cool. All right, let's cook. See what we get. So it's just installing like a bunch of libraries for the app that it's going to be using, or like for the stuff to use for once we're building the app. So with this one, I'm actually going to just get rid of it because I have found that just pointing it to the actual database schema is just the simplest. Cool. So here's what we're going to do. GitHub tutorial, or Git tutorial for vibe coding here. So git add all. Oh, you know what? It's not adding my cursor folder. Commit phase 1 complete. All right. So it looks like it just created a cool. Do it again. Cool. So this has already been an hour. I'm going to cut it off here. I got to get to some other things. Next video, we're going to actually dive into making the app. So that should be pretty fun and actually displaying it. What I really want to hammer on and what's super important about everything that we've done here, this is why I think vibe coding, say in a Replit or in a base 44 or in Lovable Bolt, name your tool, you have to, going through this process like we're doing is kind of slow, right? Like we just spent an hour 15 essentially, and I've spent about an hour 15 with you guys or so, and we haven't, like, we don't even have an app, like we don't have anything of our app built, whereas like on Replit or Lovable, like we could have like gotten something within 2 minutes, right? And so that's the quick, that makes you feel good in the short term, but unfortunately it's just not going to lead you to like a long-term product that you can use. Is it great for mocking up stuff, and is it great to get something out the door to kind of test around and play with? Heck yeah, I do it almost every day, especially for UI stuff. I mean, I'm doing it every day. I love it. But is it something that I'm going to use to actually go like sell and ship product? Not with, it'll keep me up at night. And so what we're going through is like, we're not going to take 100 hours to build something, but we're not going to take 1 hour to build something. We're going to take 10 hours, and we can accomplish what something takes 100 hours to do. We're going to do it in 10 hours, but then we're also not going to provide the crap quality that 1 hour provides. And so we're kind of finding that middle ground. And we've got our UI set up. We've got the tech stack set up, the general context of like what this project is. And now we're going to be ready to rip. This is where kind of the work of basically describing everything about the app is going to happen. And the reason going through this whole process, it's a little bit slower, and the reason you're going to end up with better output from these LLMs is because we've done the work to ask a lot of questions, or to have it ask us a lot of questions about what we're building. And as such, it then can provide us with a better database schema, with a better way to handle on the UI what it should look like. And so because of that, we're going to end up with a really great product here moving forward. I'm super excited to build this out. So again, that was part 3. I'll see you guys for part 4. Cheers.